Lieutenant Commander Sarah Phoenix Martinez had learned long ago that walking into a room full of special operations personnel meant keeping her head high and her expression neutral. The Navy's Advanced Warfare Center buzzed with the controlled energy of elite warriors preparing for something significant. She moved through the crowd of Green Berets, SEALs, and Rangers, her flight suit drawing occasional glances that she pretended not to notice. The briefing room at Naval Special Warfare Development Group headquarters in Dam Neck held an unusual mix of personnel today. Sarah recognized faces from various special operations units, their relaxed postures masking the alertness that never truly left operators of their caliber. She found an empty chair near the back, settling in with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to being one of the few women in such gatherings. Captain James "Hammer" Sullivan commanded the room's attention even before he spoke. The SEAL officer's reputation preceded him into every space he entered. 22 years of service had carved lines around his steel-gray eyes, and his presence carried the weight of countless operations in places that didn't officially exist on any map. He surveyed the assembled operators with the calculating gaze of a predator assessing potential prey. "Gentlemen," Captain Sullivan's voice cut through the low murmur of conversation. The word hung in the air with deliberate emphasis, though Sarah noticed his quick glance in her direction. "We have a situation developing in the South China Sea that requires immediate attention." The PowerPoint display flickered to life, showing satellite imagery of a small island chain. Sarah leaned forward slightly, her pilot's eye automatically analyzing the terrain features, landing strips, and potential approach vectors visible in the overhead shots. Years of studying such images had trained her to see tactical possibilities where others might only notice geography. "Intelligence indicates that a high-value target has established operations on these coordinates," Sullivan continued, advancing to the next slide. "The individual in question has been coordinating weapons transfers to several hostile organizations throughout the region. Our window to act is closing rapidly." Sarah studied the intelligence photographs with professional interest. The target compound showed sophisticated defensive positioning, with clear fields of fire covering multiple approach routes. Any ground assault would face significant challenges, while the surrounding water offered limited options for naval insertion. Her mind began automatically calculating flight paths and tactical considerations, a habit developed through years of mission planning. "The compound's location presents unique challenges," Sullivan acknowledged, clicking through additional imagery. "Traditional insertion methods face considerable obstacles. The target has chosen his position well, with natural barriers limiting conventional approaches." Around the room, operators shifted in their seats as they absorbed the tactical picture. Sarah could practically hear the mental wheels turning as each specialist considered the mission from their particular expertise. The Rangers would be thinking about direct assault, the SEALs about maritime insertion, the Air Force personnel about close air support options. "Time sensitivity is critical," Sullivan emphasized. "We have 72 hours before the target relocates to a position where interdiction becomes exponentially more difficult. This represents our best opportunity to prevent weapons transfers that could destabilize the entire region." The captain's gaze swept across the assembled personnel again, lingering on faces he recognized from previous operations. Sarah had worked with several special operations units during her 8 years as a naval aviator, though always in supporting roles. Her FA-18 Super Hornet had provided cover for extraction missions and delivered precision strikes in support of ground operations, but she had never been directly involved in mission planning at this level. "The compound's defensive positioning eliminates most standard approaches," Sullivan continued, advancing to a slide showing the target's defensive arrangements. "Surface vessels cannot approach without detection due to the shallow water and clear sightlines. Submarine insertion faces similar challenges with the coral reef structure surrounding the island." Sarah found herself studying the imagery with increasing interest. The defensive arrangement was indeed formidable for conventional approaches, but her aviator's perspective revealed potential weaknesses that ground-oriented planners might overlook. The compound's positioning, while excellent for repelling surface attacks, created specific vulnerabilities that could be exploited from the air. Aerial reconnaissance has confirmed the presence of advanced surface-to-air missile systems, Sullivan noted, clicking to the next image. Standard helicopter insertion is not viable given the threat environment. Fixed-wing aircraft face similar challenges with the limited maneuvering space and concentrated air defense coverage. The room's atmosphere grew more thoughtful as the tactical challenges became clear. Sarah recognized the telltale signs of operators encountering a problem that defied easy solutions. These were warriors accustomed to finding ways through seemingly impossible situations, but even their considerable expertise faced limitations when confronted with such a well-prepared defensive position. Additionally, Sullivan continued, the compound's construction includes hardened bunkers that would require significant ordnance to penetrate. Our intelligence indicates that the target maintains hostages within the facility, making large-scale bombardment unacceptable. Sarah's mind raced through the tactical picture Sullivan was painting. The combination of air defenses, natural barriers, and hostage considerations created a scenario that seemed to eliminate most conventional solutions. However, her unique background began suggesting possibilities that others might not consider. Years of flying close air support missions had taught her to think creatively about delivering precise effects in challenging environments. The target has demonstrated considerable sophistication in his defensive preparations, Sullivan observed, clicking through additional slides showing communication intercepts and movement patterns. Our window of vulnerability appears to be during specific periods when defensive attention focuses on particular threat vectors. Around the room, operators began exchanging glances and subtle hand signals that Sarah recognized as the beginning of tactical discussions. These warriors communicated in shorthand, developed through shared experiences and mutual respect. She had observed similar exchanges during previous joint operations, though usually from the periphery of such conversations. Weather conditions present additional complications, Sullivan noted, displaying meteorological data. We're looking at a narrow window of acceptable visibility and wind conditions. The monsoon season approaches rapidly, which will effectively eliminate any possibility of precision operations for the following 6 weeks. Sarah studied the weather data with particular interest. As a carrier-based pilot, she had extensive experience operating in challenging meteorological conditions. The forecasted weather patterns, while certainly complicating mission planning, were well within the parameters she regularly encountered during carrier operations in contested waters. The compound's isolation works both for and against our operational requirements, Sullivan explained, showing communications intelligence data. While the remote location limits the target's ability to receive rapid reinforcement, it also eliminates most opportunities for undetected approach and creates significant challenges for extraction under hostile fire. The captain paused, allowing the assembled operators to absorb the full scope of the tactical challenges they faced. Sarah could see the mental calculations occurring around the room as specialists considered how their particular skills might contribute to solving what appeared to be an increasingly complex puzzle. Given these constraints, Sullivan continued, we need to think beyond traditional operational frameworks. This mission requires innovative approaches that can overcome multiple layers of defensive preparation while maintaining the precision necessary to protect civilian lives. Sarah felt a familiar stirring of professional excitement as the challenge became clear. Throughout her career, she had thrived on solving complex tactical problems that seemed to defy conventional solutions. Her combination of technical flying skills and tactical innovation had earned recognition from previous commanders who appreciated her ability to deliver effects that others considered impossible. The intelligence package includes detailed architectural plans of the compound, Sullivan noted, clicking to building schematics. Our sources have confirmed the location of both the target and the hostages, but the proximity creates significant challenges for any direct action approach. The building layouts revealed a sophisticated facility designed with security as the primary consideration. Multiple levels, reinforced construction, and carefully controlled access points created an environment where traditional assault techniques would struggle to achieve surprise and speed necessary for hostage rescue operations. "Time for questions," Sullivan announced, scanning the room with expectations clear in his expression. These operators were expected to contribute their expertise to solving tactical challenges, not simply receive orders without input. The collaborative approach reflected the reality that successful special operations required the best thinking from all participants. Hands began rising around the room as specialists sought clarification on specific technical aspects of the mission. A ranger captain asked about alternative landing zones on adjacent islands. A SEAL lieutenant commander questioned the accuracy of intelligence regarding defensive positions. An Air Force major inquired about electronic warfare capabilities that might neutralize air defense systems. Sarah listened to the questions and Sullivan's responses, her mind continuing to work through the tactical problem from her unique perspective. The combination of her aviator background and her experience supporting special operations had given her insights that bridged the gap between air and ground operations in ways that might prove valuable for this particular mission. "Any other questions?" Sullivan asked, his gaze moving methodically across the assembled personnel. The room had grown quiet as operators absorbed the complexity of what they were being asked to accomplish. The mission represented the kind of challenge that separated truly elite units from merely competent ones. Sarah felt the moment building toward something significant. The tactical picture Sullivan had presented created a scenario that seemed to demand exactly the kind of innovative thinking that had defined her approach to military aviation. Her background offered perspectives that others in the room likely had not considered, and the mission's requirements aligned perfectly with capabilities she had spent years developing. The silence stretched as Sullivan waited for additional input. Around the room, operators exchanged glances that communicated their recognition of the mission's difficulty. These were warriors who had faced seemingly impossible situations before, but even their considerable experience struggled with the multiple layers of complexity presented by this particular target. Sarah could feel the weight of opportunity settling around her. Her training and experience had prepared her for exactly this kind of moment, when conventional approaches failed and innovative solutions became necessary. The question was whether she would find the courage to step forward and offer her expertise to warriors who might not immediately recognize her capabilities. Captain Sullivan's expression indicated his readiness to move forward with mission planning, regardless of whether additional input emerged from the assembled personnel. The tactical challenge would be addressed through the considerable expertise present in the room, even if optimal solutions required thinking beyond traditional operational frameworks. The moment balanced on a knife's edge as Sarah considered whether to speak. Her insights could potentially unlock approaches that others had not considered, but offering them required confidence that her contributions would be received with the seriousness they deserved. The room full of elite operators represented both opportunity and risk for a naval aviator seeking to contribute at the highest levels of special operations planning. The silence that filled the briefing room carried the weight of tactical complexity that seemed to resist conventional solutions. Captain Sullivan's expression remained neutral, but Sarah could detect the subtle signs of a commander weighing options that all carried significant risk. Around her, the special operations personnel showed the controlled stillness of warriors contemplating a mission that challenged even their considerable expertise. "Before we proceed with preliminary planning," Sullivan announced, "I want to address one final requirement that may affect our operational approach." He clicked to a new slide showing additional intelligence data. Recent communications intercepts suggest the presence of advanced radar systems that may not appear in standard intelligence estimates. Sarah studied the technical specifications displayed on the screen, her pilot's training automatically translating the data into tactical implications. The radar systems described possessed capabilities that would significantly complicate any aerial approach. But her experience with electronic countermeasures and low-level flight profiles suggested potential workarounds that others might not immediately recognize. These systems represent a quantum leap in defensive capability, Sullivan continued, particularly for a non-state actor operating from such a remote location. The sophistication suggests external support from organizations with access to cutting-edge military technology. The implications rippled through the room as operators recognized how dramatically this intelligence affected their tactical calculations. Sarah could see the mental adjustments occurring as specialists reconsidered approaches that moments before had seemed merely difficult. The addition of advanced radar coverage eliminated several possibilities that had been under consideration. The radar installation appears to include multiple frequency bands and rapid scan capabilities, Sullivan noted, clicking through additional technical details. Traditional countermeasures may prove insufficient against systems of this sophistication, particularly given the concentrated coverage area around the compound. Sarah felt her pulse quicken as she processed the technical specifications. Her background included extensive training in radar evasion techniques and electronic warfare systems that might not be familiar to personnel whose primary focus remained ground operations. The challenge presented by these defensive systems aligned perfectly with problems she had trained extensively to solve. Additionally, Sullivan continued, the timeline has been compressed. New intelligence indicates that the target plans to relocate in 48 hours rather than 72. This acceleration eliminates several planning options that require extended preparation periods. The room's atmosphere grew more tense as operators absorbed the implications of reduced planning time. Sarah recognized the pressure building in the space as warriors who preferred thorough preparation faced the reality of conducting complex operations under compressed timelines. Such conditions demanded innovative solutions that could be implemented rapidly. Captain Sullivan paused, studying the faces of his assembled personnel. "I'm going to ask something that may seem unorthodox," he said, his voice carrying a note of calculation. "This mission requires capabilities that transcend traditional operational boundaries. We need thinking that bridges multiple disciplines and approaches challenges from unexpected angles." Sarah sensed the subtle shift in the room's dynamics as Sullivan's words registered. These operators recognized when their commander was leading toward something significant, and their attention focused with laser intensity on his next words. "Any battle aviators present?" Sullivan asked, his question cutting through the silence with deliberate precision. The words hung in the air like a challenge thrown down before warriors who lived to prove their capabilities. Sarah felt every eye in the room scanning faces, looking for someone who might respond to Sullivan's call. The question carried implications that went far beyond simple identification of aircrew personnel. For a heartbeat, Sarah remained motionless as the weight of the moment settled around her. Sullivan's question represented more than a request for aviation expertise. It was an invitation to step forward and contribute at the highest levels of special operations planning. Her response would define not only her role in this mission, but her standing among warriors who measured worth through demonstrated capability. Slowly, Sarah rose from her chair. The movement drew every gaze in the room as the assembled operators focused on the slight figure in the Navy flight suit. Sarah could feel the weight of their attention as these elite warriors processed the sight of a female aviator responding to their captain's call. The silence that followed carried layers of surprise, curiosity, and perhaps skepticism that she would have to address through performance rather than words. "Lieutenant Commander Sarah Martinez," she announced, her voice carrying across the room with the confidence born of 8 years flying combat missions. "Call sign Phoenix, FA-18 Super Hornet pilot with 6 deployments and over 2,000 combat flight hours?" Captain Sullivan's expression shifted subtly as he processed Sarah's credentials. She could see him mentally categorizing her experience and evaluating how her background might apply to the tactical challenges they faced. Around the room, operators leaned forward slightly as their professional curiosity engaged with the possibilities she might represent. "Lieutenant Commander," Sullivan acknowledged, his tone neutral but attentive. "What's your assessment of the tactical picture we've presented?" Sarah moved toward the front of the room, her mind organizing the insights that had been building throughout Sullivan's briefing. "The defensive arrangement is impressive for conventional approaches," she began, "but the positioning creates specific vulnerabilities that can be exploited through precision aviation tactics." She gestured toward the satellite imagery still displayed on the screen. "The radar systems you've identified are sophisticated, but they're configured for tracking traditional threat profiles. A Super Hornet employing specific flight characteristics and approach vectors could penetrate this coverage while remaining undetected." The room's atmosphere shifted as operators recognized expertise being demonstrated rather than claimed. Sarah's analysis carried the weight of technical knowledge combined with practical experience that commanded respect regardless of the source. "The compound's elevation and surrounding terrain create radar shadows," Sarah continued, pointing to specific features in the imagery. "A properly planned approach using terrain masking and electronic countermeasures could achieve surprise against even advanced defensive systems." Captain Sullivan studied the imagery with renewed interest as Sarah's explanation revealed tactical possibilities that previous analysis had not identified. "Elaborate on the approach profile you're envisioning," he requested, his tone carrying the sharp attention of a commander recognizing potential solutions. Sarah clicked through the slides, using the remote to highlight specific terrain features. "Initial approach from the southeast, using this ridgeline to mask radar signature until approximately 15 nautical miles from target. Transition to NOE flight profile through this valley system, maintaining terrain masking until final approach." Her finger traced the route on the satellite image as she spoke, the confidence in her voice reflecting hundreds of hours planning similar missions. "Electronic countermeasures deployment at predetermined waypoints to create false targets and mask true approach vector. Final attack run from this vector, exploiting the blind spot created by the compound's own defensive positioning." The assembled operators followed her explanation with the focused attention of professionals, recognizing expertise that complemented their own capabilities. Sarah could see the tactical picture taking shape in their minds as her aviation perspective revealed approaches they had not previously considered. "Time over target would be minimal," Sarah continued, "allowing for precision delivery against specified targets while maintaining surprise necessary for mission success. The Super Hornet's capabilities include precision-guided munitions that could neutralize specific defensive positions without collateral damage to hostage locations." Sullivan leaned forward, his expression indicating active engagement with the possibilities Sarah was presenting. "What about extraction considerations?" he asked. "Your approach addresses initial insertion, but we need solutions for personnel recovery under potentially hostile conditions." Sarah smiled slightly, recognizing the test implicit in Sullivan's question. "The same terrain features that enable undetected approach provide multiple egress routes. Additionally, the Super Hornet's loiter capability allows for sustained overwatch during ground operations, providing immediate response to threats that develop during the mission." She clicked to the weather data Sullivan had presented earlier. "The meteorological conditions actually enhance the approach profile I've described. Cloud cover provides additional concealment, while wind patterns can be exploited to reduce acoustic signature during the final approach phase. Around the room, Sarah could see operators beginning to visualize how her aviation capabilities might integrate with their ground operations planning. The tactical picture was evolving from a series of seemingly insurmountable challenges into a coordinated operation that exploited the unique strengths of different operational specialties. The precision required for this mission aligns perfectly with carrier aviation capabilities, Sarah explained, her confidence growing as she saw recognition in the faces around her. Delivering effects within meters of specified targets while operating from moving platforms in adverse weather represents core competency for naval aviators. Captain Sullivan studied Sarah with the calculating gaze of a commander evaluating an asset's potential contribution to mission success. "Your assessment suggests integration possibilities that weren't immediately apparent," he acknowledged. "How do you envision coordinating aviation support with ground element operations?" Sarah had been hoping for exactly this question. Real-time coordination through advanced communication systems allows for dynamic mission adjustment based on ground element requirements, she explained. The Super Hornet's sensor capabilities provide battlefield situational awareness that can be shared with ground operators, creating a force multiplication effect that enhances everyone's operational effectiveness. She gestured toward the compound imagery. Continuous overwatch during ground operations means immediate response capability against threats that develop. Whether that's suppressing emerging defensive positions or providing cover during extraction, aviation assets can adapt to changing requirements in real time. The room's energy had shifted noticeably as operators recognized the tactical advantages that Sarah's capabilities represented. These were warriors who understood force multiplication and appreciated expertise that enhanced their own operational effectiveness. Her aviation perspective had revealed possibilities that bridged gaps in their initial planning. Additionally, Sarah continued, the Super Hornet's electronic warfare capabilities can provide communication disruption that prevents the target from coordinating response or calling for reinforcement. This creates the isolation necessary for ground elements to complete their mission without external interference. Sullivan nodded slowly, his expression indicating active consideration of how Sarah's contributions might reshape their operational approach. The integration you're describing requires precise coordination and mutual trust between aviation and ground elements, he observed. Have you operated in similar circumstances before? Sarah's response came without hesitation. 6 previous operations supporting Special Operations Forces in contested environments. Each mission required real-time coordination between aviation and ground elements, with split-second decision-making determining mission success or failure. She could see the impact of her words on the assembled operators. These warriors understood that combat experience created credibility that no amount of theoretical knowledge could replace. Her record of successful operations supporting units like theirs established her credentials in terms they respected completely. Most recently, Sarah continued, Operation Neptune's Spear in the Arabian Peninsula, where aviation assets provided overwatch for SEAL team extraction under hostile fire. Mission success required adaptation to changing tactical conditions and coordination between air and ground elements operating under extreme pressure. The mention of a recent successful operation sent a visible ripple through the room. These operators likely knew the mission she referenced, and her involvement demonstrated the kind of combat credibility that commanded instant respect within special operations communities. Captain Sullivan's expression had evolved from neutral assessment to active interest as Sarah's credentials became clear. "Lieutenant Commander," he said, his voice carrying a note of decision, "I believe your capabilities represent exactly the kind of innovative thinking this mission requires." The transformation in the briefing room's atmosphere was immediate and unmistakable. What had begun as a gathering of individual specialists considering an impossibly complex mission had evolved into a unified planning session focused on Sarah's innovative approach. Captain Sullivan's endorsement had shifted the entire dynamic, elevating her from observer to central contributor in a matter of moments. Lieutenant Commander Martinez will serve as aviation mission commander for this operation, Sullivan announced, his words carrying the authority of final decision. Her tactical assessment provides the foundation for a coordinated approach that addresses our primary challenges while maintaining the precision necessary for mission success. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling around her as the assembled operators focused their attention on her leadership. These were warriors accustomed to working with the best, and their acceptance of her authority would depend entirely on her ability to deliver results that matched her confident analysis. "We need to develop detailed coordination protocols," Sarah began, moving to the front of the room where she could address all personnel directly. "Success requires seamless integration between aviation and ground elements, with predetermined contingencies for various tactical developments." She gestured toward the displayed satellite imagery. "Ground team insertion occurs during my initial approach run. The terrain masking that conceals my aircraft also provides cover for helicopter insertion at predetermined landing zones. Timing coordination ensures that defensive attention remains focused on airborne threats while insertion proceeds undetected." Around the room, operators leaned forward as Sarah outlined the tactical sequence that would make the mission possible. Her confidence in presenting complex coordination requirements demonstrated the depth of her operational experience and her understanding of joint operations planning. "Primary target engagement follows immediately after ground element deployment," Sarah continued, clicking through the mission timeline she was constructing in real time. "Precision strikes against defensive positions create the tactical advantage necessary for ground elements to advance on the compound without facing coordinated resistance." Sullivan studied the emerging plan with the intense focus of a commander recognizing innovative solutions to previously intractable problems. "Timing windows will be critical," he observed. "What margins do we have for adjustments if ground operations encounter unexpected resistance?" Sarah's response revealed the depth of contingency planning that separated exceptional aviators from merely competent ones. Multiple predetermined adjustment points throughout the mission timeline allow for real-time adaptation to changing tactical conditions. Ground commanders can request acceleration or delay of aviation support based on actual conditions encountered. She pointed to specific locations on the compound diagram. "Alternative target priorities provide flexibility for addressing threats that develop during ground operations. Whether that's suppressing emergent defensive positions or providing cover for extraction under fire, aviation assets can adapt to support ground element requirements." The room buzzed with the controlled energy of elite operators, recognizing a plan that transformed impossible challenges into manageable tactical problems. Sarah could see the mental preparation beginning as warriors visualized their roles in the coordinated operation she was describing. "Communication protocols become critical for mission success," Sarah emphasized, advancing to slides showing equipment specifications. "Real-time coordination requires secure channels that can't be compromised by enemy electronic warfare capabilities. We'll use frequency-hopping systems with predetermined backup channels for maintaining contact under all conditions." A SEAL lieutenant commander raised his hand. "What about extraction contingencies if the compound proves more heavily defended than intelligence estimates suggest?" The question carried the weight of hard-earned experience in operations where initial plans met unexpected reality. Sarah had anticipated exactly this concern. "Multiple extraction scenarios provide flexibility for adapting to various tactical developments," she explained. "Whether extraction occurs from primary landing zones or alternative sites depends on ground commander assessment of threat conditions at the time." She clicked to imagery showing potential helicopter landing zones around the compound. Aviation Overwatch provides continuous threat assessment during ground operations. Real-time intelligence sharing means ground commanders have immediate awareness of developing situations that might affect extraction planning. The detailed contingency planning impressed the assembled operators, who recognized thorough preparation as the foundation of successful special operations. Sarah's demonstration of comprehensive tactical thinking established her credibility as someone who understood the life-and-death importance of careful planning. Weather considerations affect every aspect of the operation, Sarah continued, displaying meteorological forecasts. Cloud cover provides concealment for aviation approach, but also complicates precision engagement requirements. Wind patterns affect both helicopter operations and precision munitions delivery. She had clearly studied the weather data extensively, understanding how atmospheric conditions would impact every phase of the mission. Her analysis revealed the kind of detailed preparation that separated successful missions from disasters caused by overlooked environmental factors. The 48-hour timeline requires immediate preparation commencement, Sullivan interjected, his tone indicating the urgency that would drive all subsequent planning. Equipment preparation, route planning, and coordination rehearsals must occur simultaneously to meet mission requirements. Sarah nodded, her mind already organizing the parallel preparation tracks that would consume the next 2 days. Aircraft preparation includes specialized ordnance loading and electronic countermeasures configuration. Route planning requires detailed terrain analysis and radar coverage mapping to ensure approach profile effectiveness. Around the room, operators began exchanging the subtle communications that indicated active mission preparation. These warriors had shifted from planning mode to execution mode, their focus narrowing to the specific tasks that would make the mission possible. Personnel briefings cover coordination protocols, contingency procedures, and communication requirements, Sarah continued, her organizational skills evident in the systematic approach she was taking to mission preparation. Every team member needs complete understanding of how their role integrates with overall mission success. The complexity of coordinating multiple operational specialties would challenge even experienced planners, but Sarah's confidence in addressing these requirements demonstrated her preparation for exactly this kind of leadership responsibility. Her aviation background had provided unique perspectives on joint operations that served her well in this environment. Equipment checks and rehearsals occupy the remainder of our preparation time, she concluded. Every system, every procedure, every contingency gets tested before we commit to actual operations. Mission success depends on eliminating variables through thorough preparation. Captain Sullivan surveyed the room with satisfaction, evident in his expression. Questions or concerns about the operational framework Lieutenant Commander Martinez has outlined? His tone invited input while indicating confidence in the approach they had developed. A Ranger captain raised his hand. How do we handle civilian populations if they're present in areas adjacent to the compound? The question reflected the precision targeting requirements that distinguished special operations from conventional military actions. Sarah's response demonstrated her understanding of rules of engagement and collateral damage considerations. Precision-guided munitions with programmable effects allow for surgical strikes that neutralize specific targets without affecting adjacent structures. Real-time intelligence sharing means immediate awareness of any civilian presence that might affect targeting decisions. The attention to civilian protection impressed operators whose experience included missions where such considerations determined success or failure. Sarah's awareness of these requirements established her understanding of the ethical frameworks that governed their operations. Timeline synchronization becomes critical as we approach execution, Sullivan noted, checking his watch. All preparation activities must conclude within 46 hours to allow for final mission briefings and equipment checks. Sarah understood the pressure that timeline compression placed on every aspect of mission preparation. Parallel preparation tracks maximize efficiency while maintaining thorough attention to detail. Aircraft preparation proceeds simultaneously with ground element planning, with coordination points ensuring integration requirements are met. The room's energy had focused into the controlled intensity that characterized elite units preparing for high-stakes operations. These warriors thrived under pressure that would overwhelm less prepared personnel, and their confidence in the mission plan was evident in their purposeful preparation discussions. Final mission briefing occurs at 0400 hours tomorrow, Sullivan announced. All personnel report ready for departure at 0600 hours. Weather window opens at 0630 hours and closes at 0730 hours. We have exactly 1 hour to complete all mission phases. Sarah felt the familiar pre-mission adrenaline beginning to build as the abstract planning transformed into imminent reality. Her role in this operation represented the culmination of years of training and experience, with success depending on her ability to deliver the precise aviation support that would make the mission possible. Aircraft launch occurs at 0545 hours to ensure on-station arrival, concurrent with weather window opening, she announced, her mind calculating flight times and fuel requirements. Ground elements deploy at 0615 hours, with precision strikes commencing at 0620 hours to support ground advance. The timing coordination required split-second precision that left no margin for error. Sarah's confidence in managing these requirements demonstrated her preparation for operations where timing measured the difference between success and catastrophic failure. "Lieutenant Commander," Sullivan said, his tone carrying both respect and challenge, "this mission's success depends entirely on your ability to deliver aviation effects with the precision and timing you've described. Are you confident in your capability to meet these requirements?" Sarah looked around the room at the assembled warriors who would trust their lives to her expertise and judgment. These operators had accepted her as an equal based on demonstrated competence, and her response would either confirm or undermine that acceptance. "Captain," she replied, her voice carrying the quiet confidence that came from years of successful combat operations. "Precision delivery under challenging conditions represents core naval aviation competency. I'll deliver exactly the effects required, precisely when and where ground elements need them." The room fell silent as operators processed her commitment. In special operations communities, such promises carried the weight of sacred oaths, and Sarah's words established expectations that would be measured in the crucible of actual combat. Sullivan nodded slowly, his expression indicating satisfaction with both the mission plan and the personnel who would execute it. "Outstanding," he said. "Mission preparation commences immediately. Lieutenant Commander Martinez has tactical control of aviation elements. Ground commanders coordinate directly with her for all aviation support requirements." Sarah felt the final transformation in her status, as Sullivan's words established her authority within the operational framework. She had progressed from observer to central contributor to mission commander in the span of a single briefing, earning recognition through demonstrated expertise rather than assigned position. The assembled operators began dispersing to their various preparation tasks, but several approached Sarah with specific coordination questions that reflected their acceptance of her leadership role. Their professional demeanor indicated respect earned through competence rather than granted through rank or position. As the room gradually emptied, Sarah remained studying the mission materials spread across the briefing table. In less than 48 hours, she would pilot her Super Hornet into combat against sophisticated defenses, leading a mission that demanded precision beyond anything she had previously attempted. The weight of responsibility was balanced by confidence in her preparation and the quality of the warriors who would depend on her performance. Captain Sullivan approached as she gathered her mission materials. "Lieutenant Commander," he said quietly, "I want you to know that your contribution today transformed an impossible mission into an achievable one. That kind of innovative thinking represents exactly what special operations requires." Sarah looked up at the veteran SEAL officer, recognizing the significance of his words. "Thank you, sir," she replied. "The opportunity to contribute at this level represents everything I've trained for. I won't let the team down." Sullivan's slight smile carried years of combat experience and leadership wisdom. "I don't believe you will," he said. "Your performance today demonstrated the kind of expertise that earns trust in this community. That trust comes with responsibility, but also with the support of warriors who respect competence above all else." As Sarah left the briefing room, she carried with her not only the weight of mission responsibility, but also the satisfaction of having earned her place among the military's most elite operators. The SEAL captain's call had provided an opportunity to demonstrate capabilities that transcended traditional boundaries, and her response had opened doors to operational roles that most aviators never experienced. The next 48 hours would test every aspect of her training and experience, but she faced that challenge with the confidence that came from thorough preparation and the support of warriors who had accepted her as an equal. In the unforgiving world of special operations, there was no higher honor than earning such recognition through demonstrated competence under pressure.